Sweet. Awesome. Having a little glitch on the co-host, so sorry for the delay. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to another Roundtable X Space here. We are excited to have Warschauer and Kima Network joining us. Kima is a decentralized money transfer protocol revolutionizing financial interoperability, backed by people like MasterCard's FinSec Innovation Labs and incubated by ChainGPT. In this space, we'll be diving into critical topics around security, privacy, adoption, scalability. Interoperability is a huge issue, and it's a challenge holding back the widespread crypto adoption, in my opinion. So excited to kind of explore that interoperability. So give these guys a follow. Love to start with just a quick question here, Tomer, around Web3, blockchain technology. Obviously, they hold immense potential to revolutionize finance, but interoperability remains a significant hurdle. If we fast forward 5 years from now into the future and imagine that the barriers to interoperability have been overcome, what does that future look like?
Okay, so first of all, I will start by saying thank you for having us. It's a real pleasure being here today and having the opportunity to chat with you about the subject. Start by the main problem that we have these days at the moment, and is I think that we can all agree that the main blocker for blockchain interoperability is the basic fact that in order for one blockchain to thrive, it means that the other one needs to basically die. So blockchains today, layer ones, layer twos, basically every new blockchain and layer that is being born needs to steal from the other in order to grow. And this industry is not growing fast enough in order to create enough TVL, protocols, developers, and users for all chains. And one of the main reasons is the reasons that the reason that leads to this whole chaos, and is the fact that blockchains do not work well with each other and are using very, you can say, primitive or risky technologies in order to transfer data and assets from one point to another. That's also the main blocker that prevents what we call today Web 2 users and the traditional users of using this magnificent technology of DeFi, due to the fact that it's very, very risky to the centralized world to operate with the decentralized world directly. And well, it's basically impossible, and if possible, is very, very pricey and still quite risky. So I'd say that the basic main blocker in this realm would be the fact that blockchains do not have any interest to collaborate with each other, but they're doomed to compete with each other.
That is a great point that you bring up there, where it does, in some sense, feel like the success of Base, for example, does, in some way, a rising tide lifts all boats, where Base, Ethereum is slightly more successful because something like Base exists. But like the mere idea that, hey, if I have $1,000 on Ethereum and I move that $1,000 to Base, it's a net zero for cryptocurrency, and it's a negative 1,000 for Ethereum and a positive 1,000 for Base. And so you're right, we are just, in a way, just like everyone's stealing from somewhat of the same pot. And do you have any information or knowledge as far as like, and it's something that I should probably be up on, with like on ramping, right? Like, is that someplace that we need to focus? And are those the numbers that we should all be looking at? Is how much fiat money is getting into the system versus how much money are we all sloshing around together?
If I have data about the numbers here on me or remember them by heart, I don't think so. To be honest, I don't exactly know how much actually flows in real life, into the ecosystem. And I think it's quite hard to know it also because most of it is also hosted on centralized exchanges, and we know how these with reporting the reserves and what they actually have and what is flowing in and out of them. So it's probably quite hard. But imagine a world where you wouldn't have to worry about it, and a world where all of the blockchain liquidity is just being used as one huge source of liquidity for all of them. With interoperability solutions like Kima and other, I assume, advanced interoperability solutions that we're going to see in the coming years, this is definitely something that we will all be able to do. And not only that, but with the uprising now of CBDCs, and we all understand that we're moving towards a future where governments are going to issue theirs. Um, we cannot stop, but the coming change that we're going to have in our current currencies, they will become CBDCs eventually, and all of the money basically in the world will eventually flow into these changes. The question is how that money will be used in the decentralized and the centralized world, and who will be the one that will enable um, that money to be used across ecosystems. So I'm not that worried about how much money is entering the system in every new morning, but I would be more worried about the fact that still, as you said, blockchains have no interest of working with each other, and banks and the rest of the centralized world is unable to basically communicate directly with blockchains. This is the biggest risk for the growth and the overall success of our DeFi ecosystem to thrive and to penetrate every household in the world. That's the main blocker.
Just real quick, do you really think that CBDCs are inevitable for maybe some smaller countries? Do you think that countries like the United States would actually issue a CBDC? Or do you think that that's coming no matter what?
Oh yes, of course. My personal belief, I would say, I can say that I think it's not even a question. We also see what is happening now for years. We see governments that are testing it. We see that governments are moving towards it. We know from, within Kima, we just we're in process of something, of signing something quite big with one country that is aiming to move these assets. Not signed anything yet, but we know, let's say, from very close sources that this is coming. It's not something that we can prevent. It will also make, for everybody a whole easier work to operate world to operate and work in, right? We're already living in a world, with the cryptocurrencies are making the world much smaller place, and that money is moving across countries. Basically, you don't need to worry where you're from. You can work with all of the world because you're basically skipping banks with crypto, right? So it's limitless and borderless labor market now for us in the crypto realms. They're not going to give it up, and they're not going to stop it either. So the only thing that they can do is basically join it and operate within it and with it. Then for certain, I can say that I'm sure that the CBDCs are coming. Yes.
All right, quite the take. Zillion, you got any thoughts on that? Then Drew.
Yeah, few years back we did a little bit of we worked basically with a bunch of labs that had direct relationships with some central banks, and I think there is a growing awareness for countries that the value of their currency is directly linked to the utility derived from their currency. I think the yuan is going to show the world very quickly how useful it is to have a digital yuan, because then you're going to have direct the ability of all the countries within the Silk Road to engage in commercial loans and to collateralize assets, etc. So the idea, I think, with one of the main goals with the digital yuan as an export product is to enable to bypass governments in order to allow Chinese banks to issue loans directly to small businesses within the Silk Road, because the last experience of the Chinese government was basically to issue loans to governments, which default eventually on their loans, and they don't want that anymore. So they want to hedge their risk and diversify their risk by addressing directly the small and medium businesses, which are the main contributors of these economies, without going through governments. So I think the digital yuan is going to enable that extremely quickly, and many countries are going to understand overnight that the added value of their currency and the competitivity of their currency beyond that sovereign element, which is a currency, is that it's the ability of the currency to be useful. AI means distributed, exactly like we used the class of 2017 when we tried to launch cryptocurrencies. We want our cryptocurrencies to be useful, either to be used in exchange or a loan product or whatever it is to be the utility we designed for. But sovereign currencies are going to understand from a sovereign standpoint that they need to be useful and they need to be distributed across the world. And you're going to find countries which have a huge diaspora, for example, will find their currencies a lot more useful than other currencies, because right now we live in a world where everyone basically gave in to the idea that they should be pegged to the US dollar, and I think more and more we're divergent from that.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw today, Ripple announced that they're launching a US dollar stablecoin as well. And I think, when you think about CBDC, in a way, these stable coins that are pegged to the US dollar, like a Tether or a USDC, and now potentially a Ripple stable coin, it's actually in a way a CBDC, that is evangelizing the US dollar internationally and giving access to the US dollar to anyone around the world. And so it's almost like an extension already of the US dollar and the CBDC. And it almost seems like, man, why would they need it if they could kind of let this market and test this market with the stable coins that are already out there?
Well, I think that this is exactly it. I think at the end of the day, I personally do not think, that the U.S. government is going to give over its power with its U.S. dollar currency. Everything we do in this industry, like it or not, is pegged by dollar. You're calculating your profits and the value of your assets here in this industry in dollars. It's pegged by dollar. You pay for the hotel by dollar. You pay for the event that you're going to present in a dollar. We're raising funds in dollar. We're paying everything with a dollar. So I I personally do not hate the fact that we're going to see more versions that are more regulated and more safe of the US dollar. I do not think that we're going, by the way, also to change anything in the world with the cryptocurrencies as the Bitcoin taking over and the dollar is losing. We all know how that will end for Bitcoin, right? Or the rest of them. So I'm quite sure that we're going to see more stable coins, more regulated ones, like the ones you're just mentioning. And of course, I believe that they're going to have more and more control over it as we proceed with this amazing industry of ours. But definitely do not think that it's going anywhere. We will be still working pegged to US dollar, quite certain.
I agree with that. Martek, welcome to the stage. Got any comments on some of the things you've heard thus far up here?
Oh yeah, how's it going, Mario? How's everyone doing? Just like what Zillion was saying, I mean, Bitcoin. I'm just bullish on the fact that it's looming, and eventually, I think it will make fiat currency obsolete. Like, do you know what I'm saying? The printing machines for, like, World Bank and all that kind of stuff will become obsolete. There's no real tangible value in fiat currencies and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting what's going to, come to light in the next like couple of years, few years, and stuff like that. Everyone is starting to see Bitcoin as a store of value, something that is actually tangible. I mean, the decentralized aspect of it should make everyone really bullish and stuff like that. And I kind of think the clocks are ticking, even for your high street banks. I went into a bank the other day, cost me $65 to send a wire. What is that? So yeah, I think there's going to be some interesting stuff that's going to come into play over the next couple of years.
Well, it might cost you $65 also to send that on Ethereum.
That's right. Unfortunately.
Hey, well, try Solana. Solana's pretty cheap.
Well, I tried a whole day, my friend, to trade some meme coins on Solana, and I found myself unable to do so because the network kind of was stuck, everything, nothing even moved. So I'm not sure that it will work there. But interesting point of view about Bitcoin and what it's going to do to the world. To be honest, I'm completely on the other side of the fence. I think that I had a very interesting conversation about it today with a few friends, big calls from Brazil, huge ones that are usually doing very technical analysis. I'm also a trader for 12 years, stocks and crypto, and we're discussing about the actual value of Bitcoin. Now, don't hate me. In our team, they're Bitcoin maximalists, but I think that Bitcoin basically is useless. I think that Bitcoin has nothing to do. I think Bitcoin was very, very nice. The proof of concept. Satoshi Nakamoto created something amazing. That created this amazing innovation in our industry, right? And brought everything to life. In Ethereum presented to us smart contracts, and that basically created the industry we live in today. Then we had DeFi, right? That was basically invented with liquidity pools and automatic market makers with Bancor that created it initially. Basically a fork of that idea back then. Then we had NFTs, which are amazing and created, actually storing value of a digital creation in a token, which completely mind blown. But what's the actual use of Bitcoin? Some people are claiming that it's digital gold. Now, is it? Gold I'm storing as a physical, limited resource that we can actually do stuff. It was back in the day, it was jewelry. Then it was used as I don't know, for processors in every electrical tiny semiconductor that we're using in order to have a good electric current moving in the processors and actually being used. Now, what do we do with Bitcoin except moving Bitcoin on Bitcoin?
Yeah, but I mean,
So
objectively, I mean, you can't really compare Bitcoin to fiat currency. Like, hands down, Bitcoin's winning. Fiat currency has an infinite supply. There's a printing machine that's going to keep on printing it. As national debt goes up, they're going to keep on printing more of it. Whereas, like, you've got, you have an asset that has a limited supply. We're coming into halving, so it's going to be even more limited. So, like, I mean, that tells you everything that's going to happen to fiat currency as we move into the future. And if you look at the history of fiat currency, it's doomed to fail. Like, you go to India, they got like barrels and barrels and barrels of fiat currency, and you need a wheelbarrow to, like, roll the money down the street to go buy a loaf of bread. That's what fiat currency does. So I, but I hear what you're saying, but, like, opinions will definitely vary. Fear is dead.
I hear you, bro. I hear you, bro. Now you say fiat is dead, but looking at where we're today, guys, we're living in the American empire, like it or not. We are living in an American empire. We live by the dollar. This world is being run by the dollar. We're all using it. Everybody on Earth, somewhere in some spot of this planet, wants it. You're in the American empire, like it or not, and you're living with dollar. Now, if you're looking at the whole huge crypto revolutionary market that, for us, the little people, is amazing and huge and a lot of money, we're looking at an industry that is looking at like what, $3 trillion, right? Like everything that we have in this industry is $3 trillion. Now, that's, I think, less than the size of Apple alone. Did anyone ever thought about it? It's less than the size of Apple, less than the size of Google, less than the size of Nvidia, less than the size of many companies. I can keep on naming them. The whole industry, not only Bitcoin. Now, your Bitcoin's value is pegged, my dear friend and brother, by its dollar value. The only reason that Bitcoin worth what it's worth is because someone else wants to pay more for it, not because it's scarce. They have nothing to do with it. If I'm telling you that there's a bottle of water in the room and we're locked in the room, 3 people, for 78 hours, for 72 hours, the water in the bottle in that room for the next 70 hours are going to be very, very scarce. And that's a limited source, a resource that we all need to live and breathe. But the Bitcoin is not something that we can actually use, right? You're saying it's limited, but so what if it's limited? Also the water in the bottle, and also, I don't know, the amount of fish in a certain pond are limited. Then I'm not sure that this is what makes it scarce. I believe that true utility and usage is what actually brings value to tokens and to food, to drinks, to whatever material we're using in this world, being it digital or physical. And what I'm saying is that I'm not sure that Bitcoin is actually usable in our world. If you will tell me that every blockchain network on Earth needs to be pegged to Bitcoin, so let's say that we need to stake a certain amount of Bitcoin in order for a certain new network to join the decentralized ecosystem, then I will tell you that definitely Bitcoin is usable and it's definitely a digital gold, right? But as long as it has no real use, we can keep arguing forever if it's needed or not needed. So I say that the value of Bitcoin is basically whatever we give it as people. As the value of Bitcoin is how much you are willing to pay for something that I have.
So then,
But
objectively, so
imagine,
I'm sorry to jump in. So then,
please,
objectively
yeah, please,
speaking,
please.
what gives the value to a US dollar? What gives it that value?
Oh, lots of things. First of all, the fact that the U.S. dollar is backed by the U.S. government, that backs a lot of countries that are controlled by that same government, a government that has
But it's
well,
a government that's in trillions of dollars worth of debt. That same fiat
Uh,
currency that they're gonna
Can I
print.
jump?
So
Can I?
yeah, jump in, Zil.
yeah,
Yeah.
please,
Yeah. So I think that from I agree, Tomer, with your assessment, but I think that we forget to say that we're living in the last few years of the post Second World War leadership in the U.S. So the new era of leadership in the U.S. has different views. Okay, it's probably ethnically more from Indian background, less from European background, more diverse, etc. And that leadership in the U.S. is going to have a different focus. Obviously, we're living under the U.S. empire, and that's a fact. But the orientations and the political orientations of this empire, the second era, is going to be much more different. So we're living basically the last few years, as you see, the U.S. administration is aging pretty quickly. Ethnically, the U.S. current U.S. administration is from a European slash etc. background. So their focus is still post World War. I mean, for post Second World War. Okay, the new era is going to be much different. I mean, we can see it with the change in leadership in Silicon Valley today. We can see it in a bunch of other stance that the U.S. from a political perspective changes. Okay, rotates, and you will see much massive rotation in the next few years. It's inevitable, and it's the second era of any empire. And if you, I mean, obviously, knowledge of history will show you that empires, they change there. You have a first era, second era, third era, and then you have eventually a change of leadership. So I think in the second era, we're gonna come with the leadership that is more digital native, okay, with a much diverser background from a stance, from a vision, and from whatever politics that come from that vision. And I think we're on for a very big fundamental change, even from the institutional side. Even today, we see it in the stock market. I mean, today the shining stars are not Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley anymore. Today it's Nvidia, it's tech, it's etc. So we see that obviously, no one, there is a change of nature and focus of leadership from a capital perspective, but we also will see it politically, and that comes with the fact that Bitcoin has its place in this narrative. I'm very surprised. I mean, if you come here, I'm based in Dubai, and if you come to Dubai, you meet people that are doing a regional tour. And I met someone in the elevator, and I played like I did not know what Bitcoin was, etc. And these were basically sales guys from I'm not gonna say from whom, but you kind of you can imagine. They're basically touring the region here, and they're selling the idea of Bitcoin being a sovereignty play. And that is a very interesting development of the narrative. So now we're beyond the bar mitzvah money phase, and we're entering into real money, into starting to include Bitcoin as a sovereign play, as the ability, and these are extremely critical subjects. I mean, these subjects, this issue of currency sovereignty in currency has not been solved since post-colonialism. I mean, this is one of the stickiest subjects ever. So people have claimed their territories back, have claimed their sovereignty back, etc., but have yet to claim their monetary sovereignty and their monetary sovereignty from the stance of the decoupling. And in the Middle East, I think people understand exactly what monetary sovereignty means. And I think this is a discourse. I'm not saying that we will have overnight adoption, but this is definitely a narrative that is very sticky in this region, and I think it's sticky in many other regions. That's basically my
Zillion, yeah.
thing.
No, it's good. And I think this is a really quality conversation and insightful conversation just about the overarching, where is the money flowing, where is the power flowing? And I think that's important to look at, to pull it back a little bit, back to, some of the topics. It is interesting to me, Tomer, around this idea that most of the people building in Web3 are kind of like, hey, Bitcoin's really good. We need Bitcoin to do what it does, which is kind of just be this store of value and like the agreed upon store of value for like the new internet in a way, and the first online money. It's like we need that, and that needs to grow, and it needs to have its utility, which is like holding, and then there's the rest of the market, right? And it's like it's just interesting to hear someone kind of being like, Bitcoin, there's no utility and everything else in it, which it's like, are you still bullish on Bitcoin as like what its use is within Web3 and like the stability there? Or are you actually saying like we need Bitcoin to like kind of get out of the way and the rest of this infrastructure needs to be built?
Oh, well, first of all, I want to say great inputs before, and indeed, very definitely something to think about, some of the points raised. And I would like also to agree, but was said before me, before I'm answering you now, that definitely I agree that the money will evolve. The money will return to the control of the people. It's already happening now. And I believe that this is why CBDCs are inevitable also, because the reason that they're doing it, it's not because it's fun or helpful, or the usage and the rest of the things that we can now count on. It's basically because they will be able to control the money, who is holding it, etc., etc., etc. Imagine that at the end of the day, in a CBDC government-controlled era, and it will come, do not think otherwise. Basically, if your wallet is being gone through KYC of the country, is whitelisted to receive that specific token into the wallet. And if your wallet is not whitelisted, then imagine that you won't be able to get, I don't know, let's say the Ripple's stablecoin. So something to think about. I think that this is the main reason they're doing it, very unfortunately, not from the nice reasons that we're thinking about. Regarding Bitcoin, look at the distribution of our market cap. Where now I'm with Coin Market Cap open in front of me. We have market cap is 257 trillion. Now most of it, like half of it, is being held in the market cap by Bitcoin, right? So distribution of the wealth, you can say, between all of the rest of the amazing protocols and the ecosystems that we have in this industry, basically non-existent. You can say that I'm not with in front of me now, but we can say that we're holding about Ethereum and Bitcoin are holding about together. I think it's 70% of it, correct? About 70% of the total market cap, Ethereum and Bitcoin. Well, Ethereum definitely I'm holding because I know exactly what it's used for. Every L2, needs Ethereum. Everything basically needs Ethereum, holding Ethereum. But Bitcoin, imagine if all of that wealth and power, financial power, was distributing among all of the rest. It's like we were talking about the US stock markets, right? And I always like to compare, and especially in COVID, I said, that Bitcoin is the S&P 500 and Ethereum is the NASDAQ 100, right? As a trader's mindset, and I also proved correlations between them to my friends, which was kind of interesting, but to talk to for another day. But imagine that one company, and the whole S&P 500 guys alone was holding more than half of it. Like half of it. Half of the whole S&P 500 was not 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 big companies. was one huge company. Well, I can definitely tell you that innovation would definitely slow down if all of that money and power was being held by a company, especially a company that does not really contribute to any growth, right? A company that doesn't even have stable coins on it, smart contracts on it, basically nothing on it. Does nothing. It would be, excuse me, pardon me to all the Bitcoin maximalists, guys. Again, I'm not against the industry. I'm pro the industry.
It's all good. I like it.
I'm pro the industry, but
yeah.
so
I mean, there's also
that,
at the S&P the idea behind the index weighting of NVIDIA, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. It's like I think it's close, almost, isn't it close to almost 15 to 20% of the market cap is these 5 companies, and then the other control aspect is like 96% of like search traffic, or 99 is just one company, right? And like the open internet that had started was, there's a bunch of small websites everywhere, and it was more sovereign, and now it's all just being sucked up by these just couple companies, and these couple companies are driving the majority of the revenue in these industries. And so I guess the understanding, the difference being like there is a lot of value that's created by these companies as far as the use cases and utility and apps, but maybe this is just the budding difference between, hey, a more centralized power suck to this other thing, and the first thing is like, hey, we needed to get money working first. But I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, then kind of, as you said, and explains, the money that is being distributed, even if we're looking at 15 to 20, 25%, let's say that the FANG companies are taking, right? The magnificence. So again, we're looking even at the distribution of 20% for 5. You're looking at 50% of one network, guys, that, pardon me, please do not hate me, guys. A network that is basically a dumb network that does nothing. If you would tell me that it's being distributed, 20% of the whole value of the crypto market, the whole market cap is distributed among 5, 8, 6, 10, I will tell you, amazing. They have a reason to compete with each other. They have reason to innovate. They have reasons to race each other to the top. But when so much is held in one, I think that it's kind of slowing down the growth, right? And eventually, guys, I'm not sure if everybody thought about it, but governments are printing money in order to support innovation and growth. They keep printing money because the rich are getting richer at the end of the day, right? Rich are getting richer. That money is not getting to the people. That's why we need to generate more money, because the rich people are getting richer. They're taking the deltas of what we print. The small people are staying the same with the same amount of money they had before. But still you say, how can it be? They printed more money. So the rich people just got richer. The normal people stayed exactly the same. And guess what the rich people are buying, guys?
Bitcoin, mate.
Right.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. You're right,
and
brother.
the thing is,
They
Toma,
are buying Bitcoin.
and the thing is, Toma, sorry to interject, but like it kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, the whole ethos on decentralization is for the people, right? Fiat currency is not for the people. If you had a dollar 15 years ago and you buried it in your backyard, it's worth less than $1 today. Bread is $8 a loaf. Inflation is killing fiat. If you had a Bitcoin 10 to 15 years ago, or if it is that old, well, like, hey, you're in the chips. So I mean, which one would you prefer? Bitcoin is the people's currency. It's not. There's no interference from the corporations and the oligarchs that are just driven by profit. Like, Bitcoin gives the everyday Joe walking down the street, like, it gives them the opportunity to actually, achieve financial emancipation. Fiat currency doesn't do that for us. That's my objective opinion on that.
Yeah, let me interject on that very quickly. I think this whole industry, from my experience, what it brought to the world, it's the ability for people to access funds and to raise money. I think this was one of the most paradigm shifting use cases, because now even worse with meme coins. Now you don't even have to have a project or anything, but this industry, we demonstrated that no matter where you are and no matter how dumb you are, you can raise money. And this could be used for good and could be used for bad, obviously. But this ability of raising, I don't, of having access to capital is huge. I think for a lot of people around the world, outside of, obviously, if you feel it less if you're living in London or in New York or in developed countries. But if you are from an underdeveloped place, right? Uh, uh, you have absolutely no shot at raising money, no matter how good is your idea, no matter how good is your execution. If you wanted to raise money, you have to prove, you have to bootstrap yourself, have revenue, uh, be able to deal with local banks, and then one day you might have a shot to reach one of these frontier market funds, okay, and raise money from them. But this environment basically gave anyone with a good idea or any type of ability, really. And right now, even worse with meme coins. So anyone that knows how to run a good Twitter account can raise money. And that is paradigm shifting. Now you can use it for good, you can use it for bad, etc. But fact is, I think the real added value from that, what that I experienced firsthand, and I've seen people experience, etc., is the ability to raise money and to have access to capital, which is not a given for a lot of people.
But then
Hey
at the
guys,
Amazing,
can
same
I?
amazing
time,
points.
Julian, at the same time, Zillion, not only is it the ability to raise money and all, all the Wall Street talk, but it's the ability to feed families, bro. That's the biggest ethos behind, and that's the biggest value proposition of the decentralized world. It can feed families. Ordinarily, in third world countries, if a guy had access to like a Wi-Fi network and could buy a fraction of a Bitcoin 5 years ago, he could probably feed his family for like the next 5 years. That's the core. That's what makes me so bullish on Bitcoin. That's what makes me so bullish on like cryptocurrency and stuff like that. Access to the guy that wouldn't normally have the access because the money is controlled by the big corporations, and we're not going to mention the families' names and stuff like that because I like where I live. But like it's being controlled by certain individuals, the World Bank and all that kind of stuff. It's come on, like there's only one race, it's the human race. So why should a certain set of people conduct the flow of wealth or even the ability to feed their families and stuff like that while they get richer? Welcome to the decentralized world. It's a worldwide disruptor. Wall Street knows that it's coming. There's a lot of banks that have been investing in cryptocurrency for the last flipping since inception, undercover, and profiting from it without actually promoting it. So it's a disruptor. We're entering into a new era, and yeah, that's
Well said.
any other views.
Well said. Adi, go ahead.
Hey guys, I just want to add one thing to this very interesting conversation today. Wanted to add one point. Yeah, one of the biggest things about crypto is like hyper efficient capital raising, but another big trend is permissionless access. I think that's a big component of crypto, and I believe that's a reason why things like CBDCs, like unless they're forced upon the people, no one's going to use it. They'll rather use dog money. Like you have permissionless funds you can control and access and use as you please. Like, why would you use a CBDC? They're only going to use a CBDC if it's efficient and it's useful, because the future is clear. The trend is permissionless. Everything is becoming permissionless, and we're going away from permission systems to permissionless systems. And you can see this across like every scope of application in DeFi, NFTs, whatever. Just wanted to add that in.
Good comments. And yeah, so many good things you guys are talking about here. And, I remember going to conferences, in crypto back in like 2016, and you'd look around the room and you'd see people from all different backgrounds. You'd see people dressed like a cowboy and they're like naked. You would see like the most ridiculous things. And I used to sit back and kind of wonder, what is it that all these people has in common? Right. And I think it's some of the things that we're hitting on here today, which is, this democratization of opportunity and to build on an open system in a way that you could never before. And you guys are talking about the barrier to entry to even build or raise capital. and even to get, any capital was like impossible. And then to get to like the top 15 firms, which really had all of the big hits, was like almost damn near like impossible. So like, I think this open system is what makes this so exciting. And, getting from, that I'm excited, Tomer. I want to talk a little bit about like Kima and kind of go into that because I have a lot of questions, and we've been talking about a lot of other stuff, and I know you guys are here to sponsor, so make sure everyone gives Tomer a follow here. This is great, but because I was really I was on the site and I was really interested in what you guys like were building, because it could be one of the more boring things that people talk about is like bridging or interoperability in our space, but I think it's one of the most vital pieces of UX that's broken. So I'd love for you to maybe just give like the 3 or 4 minute intro on like what you guys are building, and then we can kind of continue the discussion on top of that.
Okay, well, I will try to do my best to do it in 4 or 5 minutes. It's going to be a little bit challenging, but I'll do my best. And of course, we really enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying the conversation. You can follow Kima here if you want. Follow us to see what we actually do. So, it's more important, to speak about important things like these and not, like to do a commercial for Kima. You can read about us. By the way, we're building a new website. I hate the current website, pardon. We're building a new one, but if you want to see the old website, you can check it out at kima.finance. I will explain basically what we do. So Kima is a unique, novel technology. We're a novel blockchain interoperability solution. We're working in a different way than all other interoperability solutions out there. Every interoperability solution on Earth today requires smart contracts or oracles. Both of them are softwares. I'm coming from cybersecurity background in the army, and we had a saying in the office that said that if someone wrote it, I can hack it. It means that every software created by a person can be hacked by another person. So technically, I promise you guys, every bridge on Earth and every oracle on Earth is doomed to be hacked. And it doesn't even matter how many eyes and hands have been doing audits to it. That's just the way of the world. Someone created the problem, hence the software. Someone will hack it. That's how it works. Someone will find a solution to the problem that someone created. Kima is working in a very unique way. We have first of all, we are not competing with anyone. We're blockchain agnostic. We're digital asset agnostic now and in the future. And our technology is basically a blockchain that manages assets on other blockchains. In a nutshell, like how we operate and what it means. So on our blockchain, we have no users, we have no smart contracts, and we have no assets. We are basically providing a communication layer that enables all the blockchains on Earth to communicate with each other, and to all the centralized entities in the world to communicate with any blockchain that they would like in a completely decentralized manner, and vice versa. It's a very unique technology developed by the team. Our founder, Eitan, he was the first team that created the first cold wallet, first MPC wallet in the world in 2013, 2014, Project Aegis. By the way, he's a big Bitcoin maximalist. We're arguing for days and nights about the value of Bitcoin. If he were here, you would all love him. But sorry, you got me today. But anyways, long story short, how we operate is basically by allowing blockchains to communicate with each other with a messaging, you can say, layer. Every transfer today between one blockchain to another requires a bridge above them. Basically, a smart contract on Solana receives 100 USDC. Once it confirms the 100 USDC, it initiates a transaction of 100 USDC on Ethereum and sends you the $100 on Ethereum. When a hacker arrives, is sending, for example, $100 once, is getting a confirmation, getting a $100 on Ethereum. Then he will be taking the same signature, and he will be sending nothing to the smart contract and replicating the same signature and keep getting $100 from Ethereum, for example. So sending 0, getting 100, 0, 100, 0, 100, 0, and 100 until it's draining the bridge. Or let's say that he finds a way to send 100 cents and trick the contract that it sent $100 in some exploits that he found. Then he will be sending $1, getting 100, $1, getting 100, $1, getting 100. This trick can happen with any bridge on Earth, and it can happen with any oracle on Earth. Of course, I'm simplifying the process. Kima operates in a whole different way. So if we're transferring now the same $100 between us, between Solana and Ethereum, then the smart contract on Solana will receive 100 USDC. Now, if it's connected to Kima for the interoperability usage, it will now send a message to the relay, to the Kima relay that sits on Solana. So basically, on every blockchain on Earth, we're now creating a Kima relay. That's basically, you can imagine it as the internet socket in your wall. Then once you're plugging in a cable, you're connected to the internet, right? So imagine that the same thing, that's what we do. So once that specific smart contract is connected to our Kima relay, that Kima relay now receives a message. It says $100 sent from point A to point B. I received it. Please, when you confirm it, give $100 to that specific wallet address on Ethereum. Now, something unique happens here. So the message, let's say, goes down to the Kima network. Now, on the Kima network, we have basically only validators. These validators now need to confirm that they see 100 USDC that have arrived to a specific address. 2/3 of the networks needs to physically see that the money is there with that specific transaction. Once 2/3 of the validators confirm it, each of them reveals and releases a shard that is stored on its CPU core. We're using TSS, TEE, and MPC technologies to do the following magic. Releases the shards that are stored on each CPU core of each validator that confirmed it. They are building and forming, so to say, the keys to a vault that is stored on Ethereum, which is basically a multi-sig wallet, creating all of the keys required each by revealing each shard, going to Ethereum and sends 100 USDC. So we are the only blockchain on Earth that manages assets on other blockchains. On every blockchain on Earth, smart contracts, or again hackable, are managing assets on blockchains. We are the only blockchain on Earth that has no smart contracts, no users, and no assets, but manages assets on all the rest of the blockchains in the world, now and in the future, because we're completely agnostic. That unique operation and the nature of the network enables us to be the only decentralized protocol on Earth that has an API and an SDK. These two simple 3-letter words mean that we're the only ones who enable centralized entities to connect to any blockchain on Earth, and to any blockchain on Earth to connect directly to centralized entities in the most secure way possible. We're having 3 layers. First, we're not using smart contracts. Hence, we have no software. You cannot hack us. You cannot hack and steal something that doesn't exist. We're not removing the assets anywhere. They're not going anywhere. 2, the network validators had to physically see the assets. So 2/3 of the network had to physically validate that you sent the 100 USDC on Solana and that it's there on the multisig. 3, by using Intel's TSS technology, T technology and TSS, we are creating the whole magic process of storing shards on the CPU cores. Using MPC, we're restructuring all of the keys required. You can see it like Power Rangers, Transformers, creating the big Ultratron or whatever his name was, forming up the keys and going to Ethereum to send the money from the multisig vault to the receiver. 3 theoretically unhackable processes have happened here to create this magic. This is basically what we're doing. By that, we're enabling blockchains to work with each other and stop killing each other, because our dApps, by using Kima, do not need to go anywhere. They do not need to migrate anywhere. Just by connecting to Kima, they can stay exactly where they are and enjoy all the amazing liquidity and interoperability processes that they could ever think of with all the rest of the entities that they're working with, centralized or decentralized. In addition, it brings the focus for the creators of these layers and blockchains to innovate and actually to spend resources by becoming better for developers and users instead of spending so much valuable resources fighting and killing each other over TVL, transaction volumes, users, and protocols. That's what we do in a nutshell. And of course, the last magic that we're doing is enabling centralized entities to finally connect to the decentralized world in a fully decentralized manner with no intermediaries in 100% decentralized way. So imagine that with Kima, you can connect to your bank account directly your Ethereum wallet. And then from your bank, you can decide to buy an Apple stock with 1 ETH. What will happen is that the bank will initiate through the Kima Network liquidation of 1 ETH to USDC. That USDC will get a confirmation and will enable purchasing of Apple stocks directly with that Ethereum. The bank did all of that process through the Kima Network by itself alone with no intermediaries. And the most amazing thing is that we are working technically at the speed of light. We're not doing any computation process, right? We have no smart contract that needs to be resolved. We have no transactions to finalize. So the only latency in our demo was the time that it took ETH and Solana to in the Twitter space.
Wow, a lot to unpack there. Thank you for walking through that, and I know you're probably speaking slower than you would want to let us normies catch up. And so, you know, some really highlight, like to highlight.
You there, Joe?
Ooh,
Yeah, we
sorry.
lost you, I think. I think
You
we
guys
lost
lost me. Just it
Yeah.
somehow got muted. Where did you lose me at?
you. Just to highlight, you
somewhere.
said, and then just
Yeah,
to
highlight a
you
couple
said
things
just to
that are
highlight and
really
disappear.
interesting. Is like obviously getting trustlessly from one place to the other. Could you
Looks like Joe's having problems. Hey, while he's got problems, I got something to ask you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Joe. I thought we lost you again. Hey, so you say it's fully decentralized and all this, but I'm looking at your diagram on your website here, and I mean, these liquidity pools have to be balanced. And I'm looking around, and it looks like you guys are gonna, route fees towards them and incentivize liquidity providers on every single chain to provide liquidity to pools to do this. That's what I'm assuming. And I mean, you're gonna have to run pool programs on every single chain. Like, who's got the keys to these programs? Like, you're just gonna use normal pro programs? There's some form of centralization here, because what you guys are doing already exists. It's just people don't do the Kima blockchain part. They just kind of like, oh, send funds here and we'll rebalance exchanges, whatever, and then they send you funds on another exchange and they take a little fee. Like, this already exists. It's essentially the same thing as Kima, right? Wouldn't you say?
There's some kind of bug that I now see that just opens and closes my mic. Yes, and excuse me for it. I will answer briefly. Eitan was here. It's a shame, that he disappeared. Eitan, the CEO that actually invented it. I saw him like popping up and then he just disappeared. He would love to answer this. If you're discussing about the liquidity, then you consider that we have an algorithm that the team developed that basically knows, again, this is not that new, as you say. These technologies exist, that basically is balancing the liquidity and incentivizing completely automatically in a decentralized manner, completely, the liquidity between the chains. We have no control over it. The algorithm and basically the network itself is doing all of that process and doing the rebalancing and basically incentivizing the liquidity pools, the liquidity providers to feed these liquidity pools, exactly like your Uber drivers are getting when there's more demand in one area than another. Then the system incentivizes them to go to that area. That's exactly how we operate, and that's exactly how we rebalance it. But you're correct. We need exactly on every chain to have a liquidity source. It's part of the solution.
Okay, but it's not only that. You don't just need a liquidity source on every chain. You need a pool program on every single chain that you guys have the keys to. Otherwise, you're depending on other pool programs. So you say that this is more secure, But actually, I see 100 times more risk, because now you got to have 100 different programs that you're directly dependent on, that you don't control the program codes for, or you have to create your own across 100 blockchains. Like that's an impossible problem to solve, right? Like, so I would argue you guys have way more security issues than a single protocol, right? Because you're dependent on 100 different programs. The more chains there are, the more problems you have, because ultimately you're reliant on programs to rebalance your liquidity, because there's no actual asset transfer from any chain to another, right? That's the thesis, right? So yeah, I see a lot of I see some issues with this.
I would be
here.
more than happy to. I would be more than happy to answer like everything if you go deeply into the tech, like how it works and how it operates. I do not know to answer to completely all of the process, because I'm not hands-on keyboard creating the whole solution. You know, at the end of the day, do not forget, brother, that I'm the guy that sits as a CMO and CBDO. But at the end of the day, I can assure you that the solution is 100% decentralized once the network operates on its own, and we definitely have almost zero to none risks involved. I would try to bring Eitan back here, that was here, that can specifically answer to your question and to keep the argument going. Because again, to be very honest, I cannot argue in the level that he can on this exact point that you raised in a question. You're just barking at the wrong tree, as we say.
That's okay. That's okay. I think it's a great solution though. Like there is a problem there. Like I totally agree with the problem you guys are trying to solve, and there's a high merit to what you're saying in terms of bridges are going to be hacked, etc. But that same argument applies to these pools that you guys are using. All these pool programs that you guys are using can be hacked, right? And you guys are using 100 of them instead of just one. So now you have 100 places you can get hacked, right?
Well, if you can hack all of these multi-sig wallets, then you're correct. They're basically multi-sig wallets, and the only way to access them is by hacking to all of the validator nodes and releasing all of the shards stored on each and every CPU core, forming the keys to all of these, and then unlocking and stealing the money. That's basically what is needed. And if you're saying that theoretically someone on Earth can probably do it, probably there's something on Earth that can do it. But that's basically the process that you need in order to access these and hack them.
Yeah, thanks, Tomer and Adi. Appreciate those thoughts as well. Hopefully, you guys can now hear me. And at the end of the day, it's like that's the the sufficiently decentralized argument that is out there for everything in the industry. Is that are there enough validators? Bitcoin you can 51% attack, but definitely Tomer, maybe it'll be good for you guys to kind of post out maybe some of the questions that Adi had there, or if Ethan wants to do that, because I'm sure people will want to know. As we kind of wrap up here. Yeah, for sure,
Of
definitely.
Yeah, of course, and for all questions, of course, and Sims will be here more than once. We'll be more than happy to do so. But again, if we can hack all of the multi-sigs, then basically, the whole industry will basically be flushed down the toilet, right? Like, I think that most of the industry at the moment is working with multi-sigs. I'm not sure how many of them are using a completely decentralized shards on each and every CPU core. And theoretically, in order to access these, you need to hack all of the validator nodes, release all the shards stored on the CPU cores, and then hack to the pools. I think that probably hackers will go to simpler solutions, right? Like to each and every one of the exchanges, probably, that is using way less secure methods at the moment to secure themselves.
Good point. Like last question for me, as we wrap up here, is where are you guys on the roadmap, and what does the next 30 to 45 days look like?
So at the moment, we are in a testnet stage. We have successfully created a first test also on our network with a few strategic partners to be able to form the completely decentralized crypto payment rails to their fiat on off-ramp solutions. There was a press release that was out a few weeks ago, maybe last week. I don't remember. Lost feeling of time in this crazy bull run. About Monabit, our partnership with Monabit, they're also working with MasterCard. MasterCard are backers of ours. They're also running validator nodes, by the way, of Kima through their FinSec Innovation Labs. Our testnet at the moment, their validators are operating there. I think we're the first in the world that MasterCard is running validators of their labs. And we are preparing for mainnet in June. We are at these days working to finalize some very, very strategic partnerships. Some of them I already gave hints on in the beginning. Also working with MasterCard on a pilot with I call it blockchain direct cards. So basically, we'll swipe your card and it will go directly to the blockchain to liquidate your assets, and you will be able to really pay with your assets at these stores. It's also something that we're preparing for a pilot with. Again, it's without intermediaries. So it's not like someone is issuing now a third-party issuer of MasterCard cards that is reselling these cards. It works in a whole different way. No one is giving you the liquidity. It will basically truly be liquidated on chain. This is where we are now. This is where we are planning to be in June. And yeah, keep following us for more updates.
Amazing. Well, Tomer, thank you so much. Everyone out there, thank you for listening. Give Kima and Tomer here a follow, and all of our speakers. You guys rock. Thanks for the awesome questions, the cordial and humble conversation. Really quality stuff here today, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone. Cheers, y'all.
Appreciate you, Joe.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, everybody.
Bye, guys, and thanks for the questions.
Nice to meet you,
It was a
Tomer,
pleasure.
Addy,
Bye, guys.
Zillion. Great conversation. Have a
Yeah,
great
great
day.
conversation, guys.
Thank you.
See you guys
I
later.
had a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for your time.